Good evening, all. It's been an interesting conference, sharing a lot of thoughts and ideas. I hope you all have enjoyed. Okay, today I'm here. Let me introduce myself. I'm Afrah Shams. I'm an interior designer. I'm an architect, basically, pursuing my career in interior design industry right now. I represent Space Interiors. Space is an expert in interior fit-out solutions. It's been in UAE for almost a decade now. They've been catering to retail, F&B, healthcare, and commercial sectors in interior fit-out industry. Okay, I think I need to just take a little bit time. All right, so today I'm talking about modular buildings. Modular buildings, what I'll be talking about will be the complexities, possibilities, and diversities of modular buildings. A little bit into the history. Modular buildings came into being in the early 90s when the British colonial era, where they had to construct these modular houses in a very short span, where they had to, wherever the British were settling, they had to construct these modular houses, but there was shortage in materials and skilled labor. So this is how the modular construction became popular in the early 1900s. Here what we see is on the left-hand side called the Manning Cottage. This is the first recorded modular construction in the history. It was constructed and designed by a London carpenter called Henry Manning. So this is the first recorded modular construction. On the right-hand side, we can see how back then the prefabs were transported. This is one of the pictures from in the early 1900s in America. What is more interesting is that in UAE, the first prefab factory was established in 1976. That's pretty impressive, actually, because back then the modular concept was very new, where even the developed countries has not adapted these kind of constructional methods. So we should be very proud about the UAE leaders. They were true visionaries when it comes to adapting technologies, progressive construction and technology methods. Okay, when it comes to modular construction, that's the history that we talked about, but where do we stand? This is a 207-meter high-rise building that is like 57 stories or something. This was constructed in China in 2015. And what is interesting is that the construction timeline was only 19 days. Like, wow, 19 days. So how did that happen? When you look into it, the pace we're talking about is 3 completed stories in a day's time, okay? So that's where, when it comes to the humble start of modular construction in the early 90s to where we stand, when we consider the industry itself. Let's talk about the challenges that we face. Diversity. Now, as an architect myself, when it comes to, when we think about architecture, throughout the history of architecture, it's always been, thank you, it's always been, the purpose of architecture has always been to serve people, to improve their lives, to have a positive psychological impact on them. So when it comes to modular construction, the challenge that we face today is boring, repetitive designs, because modular means mass production. Mass production means limited variety. So when it comes to modular construction, this is one of the challenges that we face. Why? Because architecture has to serve people in a very positive, people and society in a very positive way. So how do we solve this problem? How do we bring about diversities? This is a challenge that architects and modular manufacturers has to take up as a responsibility. It's not something very difficult to achieve. Breaking the mold is something they have to seriously look into. So simple measures like working with the protrusions on the facades can bring about interesting designs and facades. And also playing with the whole module itself, like how we see over here. If you play with the placement of the module itself, can bring about interesting facades or designs for you. Complexities. What are the challenges? Again, the first one, as I discussed, is the diversity in itself with limited varieties, repetitive and boring architecture that can happen because of the modular construction. Secondly would be the higher amount of complex decisions or front-loaded design, which means you have to do a lot of important decisions, greater design and engineering in the very beginning of the construction process, which means architects, engineers, and contractors has to understand how the intricacies of modular fabrication and erection. Thirdly would be the approval processes. Like any construction, it requires approval process. In case of modular, it totally depends on when and where the construction is happening. There are states or countries where the approval processes can be tedious. For example, some states, like here, would allow the inspection to happen on-site. But other states where in US or Europe, what happens is that the inspections has to happen. The inspections has to happen on-site, which will, the two possibilities. The first one is that the inspection will happen in the manufacturing unit, which is much easier. But if it is happening at the site, what will happen is that you're forced to keep the panels not connected. These modular panels that we are talking about will be kept unconnected with unfinished walls or things like that till the inspection is being done. So that could cause a delay, that could have its own hassles because these, unlike the traditional construction, these modular panels, the best way is to install it, assemble it on site as fast as possible. Now, another risk involved is risk of limited suppliers or manufacturers of modular construction. Since there are very few or limited suppliers, what happens is that the owners or the contractors has to be understanding these manufacturers, understanding their credibility in the market before they commit to a bond with these manufacturers. Because if we, in between, if something happens or if it doesn't go as you planned, it'll be a huge disaster to change the manufacturer, unlike traditional construction. Another one is transportation cost. So as you know, unlike traditional construction, modular construction happens off-site in manufacturing units. So these needs to be transported to the site. So while transportation, it is a huge responsibility from the transporter's side to avoid any mishap, because this could lead to a repair or a significant repair or replacement of an entire module itself. That could potentially hold up the installation of an entire sequence, which will, again, when we talk about the advantages of modular construction, which is time saving and cost and all that, it will take away all that from you with these kind of details being unnoticed. And finally, very important part of it is the finance. Because modular construction requires manufacturing and manufacturing things on a faster lane. The bills generated are huge in the beginning of the construction process. Yes, it is cost saving, but you have to expect that kind of an investment in the initial stages. So you have to sit with your, as an owner, you have to sit with your manufacturer, with your contractor to understand the amount that is going to, the project value of it, and also the anticipated timing for the funding, so that you have a, you have this available cash flow for the job to be ongoing and the project not going on halt or things like that. Again, as we talked about, restricted flexibility when it comes to design and design limitations itself. So what happens when it comes to the commercial part of it? Your property's value can go down because of it, because the building itself is not interesting for the customers or consumers you're targeting at. This is when it comes to, the boring facades that we talked about, it could be something like this. Okay, we talked about the challenges that we face, the complexities involved in modular construction. Let's talk about possibilities. Before talking about possibilities, let's understand the advantages that this industry has. It saves time, we know that. There is no possibility of weather delay. That is, on-site challenges are reduced very much, and there is no need to store materials. The labor cost is less because mostly things are happening on automated plants or manufacturing units, and lower volume of wastage. When it comes to sustainability, which is the thing, which is the need of the hour, that's what we're talking about. So when it comes to possibilities, the last point that I talked about, low wastage, also the reusability of these modular units. The modular modules are reusable. We have reusable units where, suppose you have a unit in Sharjah used as a classroom, you can relocate and repurpose it in Abu Dhabi or Alain or wherever you want it. So it is very green. When if you take any construction method, it is the most green construction method that can be followed. Now, next thing would be integrating smart tools and systems. Great. Let's accept it. Technology is ever evolving, and consumers' demand for integrating technology into their everyday lives has been very demanding, right? Let's say you want your phone, your car, even your house to know what you need and when you need it. So integrating smart tools into your house, Alexa has been doing it for us, a bit of it, but that's the future. So we have smart houses completely integrated with all the smart tools. This is just a model of a kitchen that I'm showing you here, but I'm talking about a completely smart house. That is the future that we can see when it comes to the possibilities of modular construction. And finally, how about having these houses ordered online and delivered at your doorstep? Do you know that we already have these houses? You can buy them in Amazon. You can, okay? So, yes. Till now, not in all part of the world, but yes, this is a possibility that's been happening here right now. And when it comes to the next thing, it would be this completely automated or a complete suite of smart house that will be delivered at your doorstep. That's the future that we are looking into when you consider modular construction. Thank you very much.